The silence was the worst part. Commander Jake Harrison stared at the empty space where Earth should have been through the viewport of his ship, New Frontier. 3 months had passed since the planet vanished, and the void still made his stomach turn. No explosion, no debris, no warning signals. One day Earth was there, blue and beautiful as always. The next day, nothing but empty darkness. Jake turned away from the window and walked toward the bridge. His boots echoed in the metal corridors as he passed families huddled in small groups. 50,000 people lived on this colony ship now. They were farmers, miners, traders, and scientists who had been working in the outer colonies when Earth disappeared. Now they were all that remained of humanity in this part of space. Lieutenant Lisa Carter looked up from her station when Jake entered the bridge. Her face was pale and her hands shook slightly as she handed him a datapad. Lisa had been monitoring alien communications for weeks, trying to understand what happened to their homeworld. "Sir, you need to hear this," Lisa said. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "The aliens are celebrating." Jake took the datapad and read the translated messages. The words made his blood run cold. The crystalline Zephyrians, the insect-like Krix Empire, and the telepathic Veltar were all sharing the same news. Humanity was gone. The dangerous species that had spread across the galaxy like a disease was finally extinct. They could now divide up human territories and resources without worry. "They think we're all dead," Jake said, setting down the pad. "Most of us are," Lisa replied. "The outer colonies lost contact with Earth the same day it vanished. We estimate maybe 200,000 humans survived across all the frontier worlds." Jake walked to the main screen and activated the star map. Red dots showed where human colonies used to be. Most were now dark. The aliens had moved quickly, destroying human outposts and claiming the planets for themselves. Only a few hidden bases remained, scattered across the galaxy's edge. On Europa's moon, Dr. Karen Mitchell worked alone in her laboratory. She had been studying alien biology when Earth vanished, and the research station's remote location saved her life. Now she spent her days analyzing the strange readings her instruments detected on the day Earth disappeared. Karen pulled up the data for the 100th time. The energy patterns made no sense according to known physics. It looked like reality itself had been torn open, and something massive had pulled Earth through the hole. But that was impossible. No known technology could move an entire planet across dimensions. She sent her findings to the other surviving human scientists, hoping someone could make sense of the data. The responses came back confused and worried. Dr. Helen Price on the research vessel Deep Space agreed that the readings suggested dimensional manipulation. Engineer Tony Clark reported similar energy signatures appearing near other human worlds just before they lost contact. Meanwhile, the galaxy was starting to change in ways the aliens didn't expect. Trade routes that humans had established began failing. Communication networks went dark. The carefully balanced systems that connected thousands of worlds started breaking down piece by piece. Ambassador Zir of the Zephyrians stood before the Galactic Council, his crystal body glowing with satisfaction. The Great Chamber held representatives from dozens of species, all celebrating humanity's end. The Krix Queen clicked her mandibles in approval while the Veltar Primarch nodded with telepathic agreement. "The human plague has been eliminated," Zir announced. "We can now restore order to the galaxy." But even as he spoke, reports flooded in about system failures across human space. Hyperspace lanes that humans had mapped and maintained for decades suddenly became unstable. Ships trying to use human trade routes found themselves lost in space or thrown off course by gravitational anomalies. Captain Ben Rodriguez received these reports aboard his exploration vessel Starwalker. He had been mapping the galaxy's outer rim when Earth vanished. Now he was racing back toward human space with his small fleet of survey ships, hoping to find other survivors. Ben's crew was mostly human, but he had alien friends among them too. Chief Engineer Maria Santos worked alongside a Zephyrian crystal shaper named Quill. They had been partners for years, and Quill refused to abandon the humans even when his own people declared them enemies. "The infrastructure isn't just failing," Maria reported during their daily briefing. "It's collapsing in a pattern, like removing the keystone from an arch." Ben studied the data Maria had collected. Every human trade route, every communication relay, every hyperspace beacon was connected to others in a vast network. The aliens had destroyed the human bases but kept the technology, thinking they could use it for themselves. They didn't understand that human systems required constant adjustment and maintenance by people who understood chaos and unpredictability. Dr. Karen Mitchell made another discovery that changed everything. She was analyzing the moon's orbit when she noticed something impossible. Without Earth's gravity, the moon should have drifted away into space. Instead, it remained in a perfect circular orbit around empty space, as if Earth was still there but invisible. Karen ran the calculations over and over, but the results never changed. The moon was orbiting something with Earth's exact mass and gravitational field. Whatever had taken Earth away had left behind the invisible placeholder that maintained the solar system's balance. She sent this information to the other scientists immediately. Within hours, Dr. Helen Price confirmed similar readings throughout the Sol system. Mars, Venus, and the asteroid belt all moved as if Earth still existed. The planet hadn't been destroyed or moved to another location. It had been shifted into a different layer of reality. General Amy Foster received Karen's report at her hidden base in the asteroid belt. Amy commanded the largest group of surviving human military forces, about 30 ships and 15,000 personnel. She had been planning guerrilla attacks against alien forces. But this news changed everything. If Earth still exists somewhere, Amy told her staff, then maybe we can bring it back. The idea seemed impossible, but it gave the survivors something they hadn't had in months: hope. Amy began organizing the scattered human forces, using secret communication codes to contact every hidden base and refugee ship. If they were going to save Earth and humanity, they needed to work together. But time was running out. Each day brought new reports of system failures and alien struggles to maintain the infrastructure humans had built. The galaxy was slowly tearing itself apart, and the aliens were starting to realize that eliminating humanity might have been the worst mistake they ever made. The greatest consequence was just beginning. The Galactic Trade Network collapsed on a Tuesday. Captain Ben Rodriguez watched the news reports from his ship's bridge as alien worlds across the galaxy reported the same problems. Cargo ships were getting lost in hyperspace. Communication systems failed without warning. Space stations lost power when their human-built generators stopped working properly. Ben's fleet had reached the outer edge of human space, where they found chaos everywhere. Alien forces had taken over human colonies and mining stations, but they couldn't keep the complex systems running. The Zephyrians tried to operate human crystal refineries but couldn't maintain the delicate balance needed for processing. The Cricks attempted to use human automated factories, but their hive mind thinking couldn't adapt to the random variations human systems required. They don't understand, said Maria Santos as she studied the technical reports, flooding their communication channels. Human technology isn't just about following instructions. It needs creativity and problem solving. Ben nodded as he read about another failed alien attempt to restart a human space elevator. The aliens could copy human designs, but they couldn't think like humans. They expected everything to work in orderly, predictable patterns. Human engineering embraced chaos and built systems that could adapt to unexpected problems. Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Price made a disturbing discovery aboard her research vessel Deep Space. She had been studying the energy readings from Earth's disappearance when she detected something new. The dimensional tear that took Earth was growing larger. Helen called an emergency meeting with the other surviving scientists. Dr. Karen Mitchell joined from Europa's moon, while engineer Tony Clark connected from his hidden workshop on Titan. Their faces appeared on Helen's screen, all showing the same worried expression. The reality wound is expanding, Helen explained, sharing her data. Whatever pulled Earth away left a hole in space-time itself. That hole is slowly getting bigger. Karen studied the numbers with growing alarm. If this continues, it could affect the entire solar system. Mars might be next, then Venus. Tony ran calculations on his computer. At this rate, the tear will reach Jupiter in 18 months. The gravitational disruption would tear apart everything from here to the asteroid belt. The implications were terrifying. Earth's disappearance wasn't just about losing one planet. It was creating a growing wound in reality that could eventually consume the entire galaxy. Dr. Helen Price shared her findings with General Amy Foster at the military base. Amy read the report twice before calling her senior officers together. The small command room filled with the few remaining human military leaders. "We have two problems now," Amy told them. "The aliens want us to fix their infrastructure, and we have this expanding dimensional tear threatening everything." Commander Jake Harrison had brought his colony ship to rendezvous with Amy's forces. 50,000 civilian refugees needed protection, and Amy's military base was the safest place in human space. Jake joined the meeting via video link from New Frontier. "The Crix Queen has been sending us messages every day," Amy continued. "She's demanding that we repair their trade networks and power systems. She says if we don't help, they'll destroy our remaining colonies." Lieutenant Lisa Carter, monitoring communications from Jake's ship, had intercepted these threats. The alien coalition was growing desperate as their economy crumbled. Worlds that depended on trade were running out of essential supplies. Space stations were losing life support when human-designed backup systems failed. "What do they offer in return?" Jake asked. "Nothing," Amy replied. "They still consider us a conquered species. They expect us to work as slaves to fix the mess they made." But the situation was changing rapidly. Ambassador Zier of the Zephyrians faced angry crowds on his homeworld, as crystal formations that powered their cities began failing. The formations required sonic frequencies that only human engineers had learned to produce correctly. Without proper maintenance, the crystals were slowly losing their energy storage capacity. The Crix Empire faced even worse problems. Their hive mind society depended on instant communication across vast distances. Human-built quantum communicators made this possible, but the devices required constant adjustment by individuals who could think independently. The Crix workers, trained to follow orders without question, couldn't maintain the systems. On the Veltar homeworld, Primarch Zelnara struggled with a crisis of leadership. The telepathic species had become dependent on human-designed privacy shields that protected their minds from mental overload in crowded areas. As these shields failed, Veltar cities became chaos as millions of minds pressed against each other without protection. Dr. Karen Mitchell continued her research on Europa's moon. Working around the clock to understand Earth's disappearance, she discovered that the dimensional tear wasn't random. Something intelligent had pulled Earth through spacetime and that something was still out there. Karen's instruments detected movement in the void between galaxies. Massive shapes moved through empty space, too large and strange to be natural. She recorded these readings and sent them to Helen Price. But the data was so unusual that neither scientist could interpret it. Engineer Tony Clark made his own discovery while analyzing the failed human systems across the galaxy. The aliens hadn't just destroyed human bases randomly. They had specifically targeted the communication hubs and coordination centers that kept human technology working smoothly. It was as if they knew exactly which components to remove to cause maximum damage. But there was a pattern to the failures that suggested something else. Tony noticed that systems failed in a specific sequence, starting from the outer colonies and moving inward toward Earth's location. It looked like something was deliberately crippling human infrastructure piece by piece. General Amy Foster received these reports and began to understand the scope of their situation. Earth's disappearance wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a larger plan to weaken humanity and destroy the complex systems they had built across the galaxy. Amy made a difficult decision. She opened communication channels with the alien coalition and sent a message to Ambassador Zier, the Crix Queen, and Primarch Zelnara. "You want our help fixing your problems," Amy's message said, "but we're not your slaves anymore. If you want human assistance, you'll negotiate with us as equals." The alien response was swift and angry. They threatened to destroy every remaining human colony if the survivors didn't surrender immediately. But their threats sounded hollow now. The aliens needed human expertise more than humans needed alien protection. Captain Ben Rodriguez intercepted these communications and shared them with his crew. Chief Engineer Maria Santos laughed for the first time in months. "They're scared," she said. "They finally realize they can't run the galaxy without us." But Ben remained worried. The expanding dimensional tear, the mysterious movements in deep space, and the coordinated destruction of human systems all pointed to a larger threat. Something had orchestrated Earth's disappearance, and that something was still out there. The galaxy was breaking apart, and the aliens were finally beginning to understand that eliminating humanity might not have been victory. It might have been the first step toward their own destruction. The first alien world died on a Wednesday. Dr. Helen Price watched the recordings from her research ship, unable to believe what she was seeing. The Veltar colony of Nexus Prime simply stopped existing. One moment, the planet was there with its billion telepathic inhabitants. The next moment, empty space remained where the world used to be. But this wasn't like Earth's disappearance. Earth had vanished cleanly, leaving behind gravitational shadows and energy traces. Nexus Prime was consumed. The planet didn't disappear into another dimension. Something had eaten it, leaving behind only twisted space-time, and the screams of dying minds that the surviving Veltar could still feel echoing across their telepathic network. Helen immediately contacted Dr. Karen Mitchell on Europa's moon. Karen had been tracking the strange movements in deep space, and now those movements were heading toward populated systems. "They're not natural," Karen said, her voice shaking as she shared her latest readings. "These things exist partially outside our reality. They move through space like sharks through water, but they're hunting something specific." Engineer Tony Clark joined their emergency conference from his workshop on Titan. He had been analyzing the energy signatures from Nexus Prime's destruction, and the patterns matched something in his database. "I've seen readings like this before," Tony explained. "In the archives from the old exploration missions, human ships encountered similar energy patterns near the galaxy's edge about 50 years ago, but the exploration teams never returned to explain what they found. The entities that destroyed Nexus Prime began appearing throughout the galaxy. They moved between star systems like living shadows, consuming planets and space stations without warning. The alien species had never encountered anything like them before. Ambassador Zir of the Zephyrians sent desperate messages to every surviving human leader. His crystal homeworld was under attack by creatures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Zephyrian weapons passed harmlessly through the entities, while their crystal cities crumbled under assault from forces that defied physics. "We need human assistance immediately," Zir's message pleaded. "These creatures ignore our defenses. Only human weapons seem to affect them." Colonel Steve Murphy commanded the last functional human military outpost in the sector. His small base on the asteroid Ceres had become a refuge for both human and alien survivors, fleeing the mysterious attackers. Steve read Zir's message with grim satisfaction. "Now they want our help," Steve told his staff, "after spending months trying to exterminate us." But Steve wasn't cruel enough to let entire civilizations die, even if those civilizations had tried to destroy humanity first. He began organizing refugee convoys to bring alien survivors to safety at human bases. The irony wasn't lost on anyone that humans were now protecting the same species that had celebrated Earth's disappearance. Captain Ben Rodriguez and his exploration fleet encountered the entities firsthand while investigating the destroyed Veltar colony. His ship Starwalker dropped out of hyperspace near where Nexus Prime used to be, and found something that made his crew freeze in terror. Massive shapes moved through the empty space, darker than the void between stars. They were impossibly large, stretching across distances that should have contained entire moons. As Ben watched, one of the creatures turned toward his ship and he felt something probe his mind with alien intelligence. "All ships, retreat immediately," Ben ordered, but as his fleet tried to escape, the entities followed them through hyperspace. They moved through the higher dimensions like they belonged there, hunting the human ships across impossible distances. Chief Engineer Maria Santos worked frantically to boost their hyperspace engines while the creatures pursued them. The entities seemed drawn to human vessels in particular, as if they recognized something about human technology or human minds. "They're not just hunting randomly," Maria reported. "They're specifically targeting us." Dr. Helen Price made a breakthrough while analyzing the attack patterns. She discovered references to similar entities in ancient alien archives that she had access to through her research credentials. The records were millions of years old, dating back to civilizations that had existed long before any current species evolved. The archives called them devourers. They came from the spaces between galaxies, feeding on organized civilization and complex thought patterns. Throughout galactic history, they had appeared whenever civilizations reached a certain level of development, consuming entire species before returning to the void. But there was more to the ancient records. Each galactic civilization had survived the devourers by maintaining what the archives called a guardian species. This species served as a shield against the entities through their unpredictable nature and chaotic thinking patterns. The devourers couldn't predict or consume minds that refused to follow orderly patterns. Helen shared this discovery with the other scientists, and the implications became clear immediately. Humanity had been serving as the guardian species for the current galactic civilization. Their aggressive expansion, unpredictable behavior, and refusal to conform to alien social patterns had created a barrier that kept the devourers away. When Earth disappeared and human influence weakened across the galaxy, that protection vanished. The Devourers sensed the change and emerged from their hiding places to begin their harvest. Dr. Karen Mitchell confirmed Helen's theory through her own research. The dimensional tear that took Earth had sent ripples through spacetime that reached far beyond the galaxy. Those ripples were like a dinner bell for the Devourers, calling them to a galaxy that was suddenly vulnerable. General Amy Foster received this information at her asteroid base and immediately understood the scope of the crisis. Earth's disappearance hadn't just removed humanity from the galaxy. It had doomed every intelligent species to extinction, but Amy also realized that some humans still remained, scattered across the frontier worlds and hidden bases. If they could somehow restore humanity's protective influence, they might be able to drive the Devourers back. The problem was that there weren't enough humans left, and they were too scattered to create the complex chaos patterns that had protected the galaxy before. They needed Earth back, with its 8 billion unpredictable human minds creating the mental static that confused the Devourers. Captain Nina Webb commanded the last human dreadnought, a massive warship called Liberty's Edge that had been exploring the galactic core when Earth vanished. She received Amy's recall order and began the long journey back to human space, but her route took her through systems where the Devourers were feeding. Nina's ship engaged the entities in the first successful battle against them. Human weapons designed for chaos and unpredictability could actually damage the creatures, but the fight was costly. Nina lost half her crew before driving the Devourers away from a Crix colony world. The surviving Crix Queen sent a message to Nina that changed everything. For the first time in galactic history, an alien leader formally surrendered to humanity and begged for protection. "We were wrong," the Queen's message said. "We destroyed the very species that was keeping us safe. We surrender ourselves to human authority and ask only that you protect our remaining people." Similar messages began arriving from the other alien powers. Ambassador Zir offered the Zephyrians complete submission to human leadership. Primarch Zelnara of the Veltar sent the telepathic equivalent of unconditional surrender, along with every secret his species possessed about the galaxy's history. The aliens were finally ready to accept what they should have understood from the beginning. Humanity wasn't the galaxy's greatest threat. Humanity was its greatest protection. Without human chaos and unpredictability to shield them, every organized civilization was doomed to become food for the creatures that hunted. In the dark between stars, General Amy Foster looked at the surrender messages and felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. 50,000 humans on Jake's colony ship, 30,000 at her asteroid base, a few thousand scattered across other worlds, maybe 200,000 humans total, trying to protect a galaxy of trillions. But they had one advantage the Devourers didn't expect. Somewhere in another dimension, Earth still existed with 8 billion human minds. If they could find a way to bring it back, they might have enough chaos to save everyone. The real war was just beginning. Admiral Kate Phillips never expected to command alien warships, but desperate times created strange alliances. Kate stood on the bridge of the combined fleet's flagship, looking at a display that showed ships from dozens of species all flying under human command. Zephyrian crystal cruisers flew alongside Crix bioships and Veltar mine vessels. 3 months ago, these same aliens had been celebrating humanity's extinction. Now they followed human orders without question. The formal surrender ceremonies had taken place on General Amy Foster's asteroid base. Ambassador Zir had knelt before the human leaders, his crystal body dimmed with shame. The Crix Queen had offered her species' complete genetic database as tribute. Primarch Zelnara had opened his mind completely to human telepaths, sharing every secret of Veltar civilization. But surrender wasn't enough. The Devourers continued consuming worlds across the galaxy, and conventional weapons could barely slow them down. The only solution was bringing Earth back from whatever dimension had claimed it. Dr. Helen Price led the scientific team trying to understand Earth's location. Working from her research vessel Deep Space, she coordinated with scientists from every surviving species. The alien experts brought knowledge of dimensional physics that humans had never encountered, while human scientists provided the chaos thinking needed to solve impossible problems. "The dimensional barrier is weakening," Helen reported during the daily briefing. "We're getting stronger readings from Earth's location. It's like the planet is trying to break through back to our reality." Dr. Karen Mitchell had moved her research from Europa's moon to the main fleet. Her gravitational sensors were the most sensitive instruments available, and she had detected patterns in spacetime that suggested Earth was fighting against whatever force held it captive. The planet isn't just sitting passively in another dimension, Karen explained. Something on Earth is actively trying to return. The energy signatures match what we'd expect from 8 billion human minds all focused on the same goal. Engineer Tony Clark had been working with alien technology specialists to design the equipment needed for a rescue mission. The project required combining human engineering chaos with alien precision in ways that shouldn't have been possible. We need reality anchors to stabilize the dimensional tear, Tony explained to the engineering team. Zephyrian crystals can store the energy. Crick's biocomputers can calculate the variables, and human pilots can navigate through the chaos. But the rescue mission faced a huge problem. The Devourers had realized what the combined fleet was planning, and they were gathering near Earth's dimensional location. Hundreds of the entities lurked in the void, waiting to consume any ship that tried to breach the barrier between realities. Lieutenant Commander Paul Stevens volunteered to lead the navigation team. Paul had spent years mapping hyperspace routes through the galaxy's most dangerous regions. His specialty was flying through areas where normal physics didn't work properly, making him perfect for dimensional travel. "I'll need pilots who can think like humans," Paul told Admiral Phillips. "Alien minds are too orderly for this kind of navigation. We need chaos thinkers who can adapt when reality stops making sense." Captain Roy Baker stepped forward immediately. Roy commanded a small courier ship called Swift Runner, and his reputation for impossible flights was legendary among human pilots. He had once navigated through a collapsing star system by using gravitational waves like a surfboard. "I'm in," Roy said. "If there's a way through, I'll find it." Dr. Lucy Adams, the fleet's quantum physicist, had been studying the dimensional readings for weeks. She believed that Earth wasn't just trapped in another dimension. The planet had been pulled into a pocket reality created specifically to hold it. Someone or something built a prison for Earth, Lucy explained. The dimensional barriers aren't natural. They were designed to keep the planet isolated while maintaining its structural integrity. This discovery changed everything. Earth hadn't been randomly grabbed by the Devourers. Something intelligent had specifically targeted humanity's homeworld and removed it from the galaxy with surgical precision. Chief Engineer Dan Roberts led the effort to build the dimensional breach equipment. His team included alien specialists who had never worked with humans before, but desperate circumstances forced cooperation. Zephyrian crystal shapers worked alongside human welders, while Crick's bioengineers grew living components that human technicians integrated into mechanical systems. "The technology is impossible," Dan reported. "We're combining 3 different approaches to physics that shouldn't work together. But somehow it does work, as long as we don't think about it too hard." Systems analyst Julie Thompson managed the massive logistics of the rescue mission. Coordinating supplies, personnel, and equipment across dozens of species required organizational skills that impressed even the efficiency-obsessed Cricks. "The alien surrender has given us access to resources we never had before," Julie explained. "Zephyrian industrial crystals, Crick's biomanufacturing, Veltar computational networks. We can build things that no single species could create alone." But time was running out. The Devourers were consuming more worlds every day, and their feeding was making them stronger. Each planet they devoured increased their ability to exist in normal spacetime, making them harder to fight with conventional weapons. Captain Ben Rodriguez had been conducting hit-and-run attacks against the entities with his exploration fleet. His ships were fast enough to escape when the Devourers counterattacked, but each engagement showed that the creatures were adapting to human tactics. "They're learning," Ben reported. "The Devourers are studying how we fight and developing countermeasures. We can't keep this up much longer. The rescue mission would only get one chance. If it failed, the remaining human forces wouldn't be strong enough to protect the galaxy's survivors from the growing Devourer threat." Admiral Kate Phillips made the final preparations for the mission aboard the fleet flagship. The dimensional breach equipment filled an entire deck of the massive vessel, with crystal matrices storing enough energy to tear open reality itself. Crick's biocomputers calculated probability chains that stretched across multiple dimensions, while Veltar telepaths maintained mental links with the human pilots who would navigate the chaos. "This is insane," said Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sandra Walsh as she reviewed the mission parameters. We're trying to punch a hole through reality to rescue a planet from another dimension, while fighting monsters that eat civilizations. Insane is what humans do best, Kate replied. It's why we're the only species that can protect this galaxy. The combined fleet moved toward Earth's dimensional location, knowing that hundreds of devourers waited for them. The aliens had contributed everything they could to the mission, but in the end, success would depend on human pilots flying through impossible space to reach a planet that might not want to be rescued. Commander, Jake Harrison brought his colony. Ship New Frontier as close to the combat zone as safety allowed. 50,000 civilian refugees watched the rescue mission launch, knowing that their survival depended on its success. If Earth couldn't be recovered, humanity would never have enough chaos thinkers to maintain the protective barrier against the devourers. Lieutenant Lisa Carter monitored communications from all the rescue ships as they approached the dimensional barrier. The energy readings went crazy as human pilots began their descent into chaos space, following navigation routes that existed only in the spaces between logic and madness. They're through the first barrier, Lisa reported, but the devourers are following them. The greatest rescue mission in galactic history had begun, and its outcome would determine whether civilization survived or became food for the hunters in the dark. Admiral Kate Phillips looked out at the rebuilt Sol system from her command station and reflected on how much had changed. Earth was home again, but it was also the capital of a galactic empire built on the foundation of human unpredictability. The responsibility was enormous, but humanity had proven capable of carrying it. In the deep monitoring stations at the galaxy's edge, sensors watched the void between stars for signs of movement. The devourers were still out their way. Earth returned to normal space-time on a Thursday morning, but the cost was higher than anyone expected. Captain Roy Baker's ship Swift Runner led the rescue fleet through the final dimensional barrier as reality twisted around them like broken glass. Roy gritted his teeth and focused on the impossible navigation readings that only human minds could interpret. Behind him, the dimensional anchor ships held open a tunnel between realities while devourers attacked from all directions. I can see it, Roy called over the communication system. Earth is right there, maybe 10,000 kilometers ahead. But something was wrong. Earth wasn't floating peacefully in its pocket dimension. The planet was surrounded by a massive structure that pulsed with alien energy. Whatever had taken Earth was still there, still holding it captive. Dr. Helen Price analyzed the readings from her position on the flagship. The structure around Earth was enormous, larger than most space stations. It seemed to be some kind of harvesting device, slowly draining energy from the planet's population. The devourers aren't just consumers, Helen realized. They're farmers. They took Earth to harvest human chaos energy, but they're keeping the population alive to maintain production. Admiral Kate Phillips made a command decision that would haunt her for years. The rescue mission couldn't fight both the harvesting structure and the devourers attacking the fleet. They had to choose between saving Earth quickly or saving it safely. All ships maximum power to the dimensional anchors, Kate ordered. We're pulling Earth through now, regardless of what's attached to it. Lieutenant Commander Paul Stevens coordinated the navigation effort while reality collapsed around the rescue fleet. Human pilots pushed their ships beyond safe limits, using chaos thinking to find paths through space-time that shouldn't have existed. Several ships were lost when they took wrong turns through dimensions that led nowhere. The dimensional anchor ships, powered by Zephyrian crystals and guided by Crick's biocomputers, grabbed Earth with forces that could move planets. But the harvesting structure fought back, trying to maintain its grip on humanity's homeworld. Engineer Tony Clark watched his equipment readings spike beyond dangerous levels as the anchor system strained to pull Earth free. The crystals are overloading, he reported. We need more power or we'll lose everything. Chief Engineer Dan Roberts made a desperate choice. He ordered the sacrifice of 3 colony worlds that had been abandoned during the Devourer attacks. The planets were converted into pure energy and fed into the dimensional anchor system, providing just enough power to break Earth free from its prison. The harvesting structure shattered as Earth tore away from it, but pieces of alien technology remained attached to the planet. As Earth materialized in normal spacetime, these devices continued operating. creating energy fields that protected the planet from devourer attacks. President Ellen Hayes emerged from the government bunkers beneath Washington, D.C. to find a changed galaxy. Ellen had led Earth's population through 3 months of captivity, organizing resistance against the harvesting devices and maintaining hope that rescue would come. Now she faced the reality that humanity had become the dominant power in galactic civilization. "The aliens surrendered to us completely," Admiral Phillips explained during their first meeting. "Every species that survived the devourer attacks has accepted human authority. We're not just Earth's government anymore. We're the Galactic Human Protectorate." Ellen looked at the data showing the extent of human control. Thousands of alien worlds now flew human flags. Millions of non-human citizens looked to human leaders for protection and guidance. The species that had celebrated humanity's extinction 3 months ago were now grateful subjects of human rule. But the victory came with enormous responsibility. The devourers hadn't been defeated, only driven back to the spaces between galaxies. They would return eventually, and only human chaos thinking could protect civilization from their hunger. Dr. Karen Mitchell established the new Galactic Research Council on Earth, bringing together the best scientists from every species. Her first project was understanding the alien technology that remained attached to Earth after the rescue. The harvesting devices could be converted into defensive systems that would strengthen the chaos barrier protecting the galaxy. "We can use their own technology against them," Karen explained to the research team. "The harvesting devices were designed to channel human unpredictability. We can reverse their function to broadcast chaos energy across the entire galaxy." Engineer Tony Clark led the effort to integrate alien technology with human systems across all member worlds. The work required careful balance between human innovation and alien precision. Too much order would weaken the protective chaos barrier. Too much chaos would make the systems impossible to maintain. Admiral Sam Turner took command of the new galactic fleet, with human captains leading mixed-species crews on every ship. The integration wasn't always smooth. Alien crew members had to learn to work with human unpredictability, while human officers had to understand alien capabilities and limitations. "It's like conducting an orchestra where every musician plays a different instrument," Sam explained to his staff. "But somehow we're making beautiful music together." The new government structure reflected humanity's role as galactic guardians. The Galactic Human Protectorate guaranteed rights and freedoms for all species, but humans held final authority on all major decisions. Alien representatives could advise and suggest, but human chaos thinking was considered essential for protecting the galaxy from future threats. Dr. Rachel Kim led the new Department of Chaos Studies, a research division dedicated to understanding and enhancing human unpredictability. Her work involved studying how human behavior patterns created the mental static that confused devourers and other reality-based threats. "We're not just protecting the galaxy through military force," Rachel explained. "We're protecting it by being ourselves. Human nature is our greatest weapon." Captain Ben Rodriguez commanded the Deep Space Monitoring Division, with ships stationed at the galaxy's edge to watch for devourer activity. His crews included both human and alien personnel, working together to maintain early warning systems against threats from beyond known space. The monitoring stations detected movement in the void between galaxies, confirming that the devourers were regrouping for another attack. But the readings also showed something unexpected. The entities were avoiding areas where human chaos energy was strongest, as if they had learned to fear humanity's protective influence. Commander Jake Harrison, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, oversaw the integration of refugee populations from destroyed worlds. His colony ship New Frontier had become a symbol of hope for survivors of all species. The ship's mixed population of humans and aliens worked together to build new lives under human protection. "We didn't ask to become the galaxy's guardians," Jake told his crew during a memorial service for the worlds lost to the devourers. "But we accepted the responsibility because someone has to stand against the darkness." The children born on Earth after its return grew up in a galaxy where humanity was respected and feared in equal measure. They learned alien languages alongside English, studied the histories of dozens of species, and understood from an early age that their chaotic human nature was what kept everyone safe. Dr. Lucy Adams established the Dimensional Defense Network, using modified harvesting technology to monitor reality for signs of future devourer incursions. Her sensors could detect dimensional breaches from across the galaxy, providing early warning when the entities tried to return. "They'll come back eventually," Lucy warned during a government briefing. "The devourers are patient. They might wait 1,000 years, but they'll try again when they think we've grown weak." President Ellen Hayes addressed this challenge by establishing the Human Expansion Protocol. The program encouraged human settlement on worlds throughout the galaxy, spreading chaos energy across as many systems as possible. The more unpredictable human activity occurred, the stronger the protective barrier became. But the expansion had to be carefully managed. Too much human influence could destabilize alien societies that had developed over millions of years. The Protectorate needed to balance protection with preservation, ensuring that human chaos enhanced galactic civilization rather than destroying it. Captain Nina Webb commanded the new Strategic Response Fleet, ready to deploy human chaos warriors to any location where devourer activity was detected. Her ships carried specialized weapons designed to exploit the entity's weakness to unpredictable energy patterns. The galaxy had found a strange equilibrium. Humanity ruled not through conquest but through necessity. Every species understood that their survival depended on maintaining human chaos thinking across the galaxy. The aggressive, unpredictable nature that had once made humans galactic outcasts was now their most valuable contribution to civilization.